Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. We have two American blended whiskeys, both 80 proof, with no website listing, so you can't find them on the internet. I mean, unless you see a store selling them, of course, but not from their home company, and no age statement. Okay, this is the one I've been bringing into competition with this current series, American blended whiskeys. This is Calvert Extra. 100% blended whiskeys, American blended whiskeys. This bottle looks kind of beat up, huh? Well, it is. It's old. I found this at International Market in Metairie, Louisiana. It was covered with dust and grime. Looked like something they forgot to throw away. But there it was with no price tag or anything. And I said, maybe I could clean it with water, warm water, very hot. Not hot, but very warm water and soap. And I did clean it. And I checked. I said, what's the price on this? They scanned it, $8.99. I said, for this relic, I'll buy it. I think it's 28 years old, but it could be older. We know one thing for sure. It's from the 1991 to 2015 era, which was when Calvert Extra was a brand under the Beam Company. Before that, it was Seagram's. Calvert was started in 1963. I'm talking about Calvert Extra. Sorry. Calvert Extra American blended whiskey was started by the Seagram's Company in 1963, sold to the Beam Company in 1991, and sold to Luxco in 2015. So it's a Luxco brand today, but today it's a 70-30 blend. 70% grain spirits, 30% straight whiskey. But this one is 100% whiskey, no grain spirits added. We know that because there's no commodity statement on it. Nowhere on here does it give a blend ratio, which legally means it has to be 100%. Okay. Could have flavoring added, though. Could have coloring added. It's not a straight whiskey. David Cassidy says, hi, Ron. Hello to you, David. Now, here's the competitor. I bought this at Total Wine and More, also in Metairie, Louisiana. They're not selling it there anymore, but these things come around and then they go away and come back. This is Bay Street Spirits. They're still selling it in Florida on the Total Wine website. That makes sense because this is from Florida. There's a cavern showing barrels of whiskey as a photograph of a cavern. Well, you know what? Florida does have caverns, believe it or not. There's Florida Caverns State Park. We've been there, and it's pretty deep. So when you think of Florida, you wouldn't think they had caverns, but they do. And even the Bahamas has caverns, but we didn't get to go. There was some problem when we were there. Like, I think they were flooded or something. I don't know. We couldn't go to the caverns. All right. So this was produced by Florida Caribbean Distillers. Introduced in 2010. Found the trademark data on it. There's Bay Street Spirits Gin, Bay Street Spirits Rum, Bay Street Spirits Whiskey, and so forth. All right, so they produce a whole bunch of different, vodka, all kind of different things. It's a line of liquor like Fleischmann's or Mr. Boston or Jacquin's or McCormick. You know how these things work. 80% straight, I wish. 20% straight whiskey and 80% grain neutral spirits. I do have a whiskey that's flipped, 2080. That is Bushmills Black. Bushmills Black is 20% grain whiskey and 80% single malt whiskey. So they flipped it. Most Irish whiskey is probably the opposite, 80% grain whiskey and 20% straight single malt. This one's 20% straight, but they're probably not using malt whiskey. It's probably mostly corn, straight bourbon probably, but we won't go into all those details. But it doesn't have to be. It could be anything. As long as it's straight whiskey, it works. It could be straight wheat whiskey, straight rye whiskey, straight bourbon whiskey, straight barley malt whiskey. It was $13.99 for this handle. True story, $13.99. I said, well, It doesn't get much cheaper than that. David Cassidy says, clink in the mugs. GXH, end of the world, says rocks glass with whiskey in it. All right, so let's pour this at dawn here. Still dark outside with this pretend daylight savings time. Call a handle bottle because it's actually molded like a handle on the back where you can grab it. Now that Chi-Chi's Pina Colada rum liqueur would not be called a handle. There is no handle on it. You could just call that a jug. It's just round. Now you see this one? Look how much lighter the Bay Street is, the one I'm shaking. Look how much lighter. Calvert is fairly dark, amber. This one is straw. It's like, wow, that is the lightest yellow. It's not even yellow. It's like straw. Really, like if you saw in a barn, straw in a barn. Which is making me think they're probably not adding color into it. Now, whether they're adding flavoring, I don't know. But I think they're producing it on a shoestring budget. I don't think they're even bothering to spend the money to add flavoring or color. I think they just basically taking the straight whiskey, 20% volume of this whole, blending it with the 80% grain spirits, make sure it's all watered down to 80 proof. It's got no age statement, so we know the straight whiskey in there is at least 4 years old. It's at least 4 years old. And they bottle it and selling it. And I got, like I said, I got mine at Total Wine and More. It's not a Total Wine private label. But are there Total Wine private labels? I think so. But I don't know what they are. You know what I'm saying? I think so, but I don't know what they are, because every time I think something is a Total Wine private label, then I find it in other stores. I think the main thing with Total Wine is they just sell a lot of strange products that they probably got cheap. You know, these off the wall, if you want to call them off brands, whatever, you know, like this Latino sandwich spread I found at Walmart. I never heard of that stuff before. I don't know. Like this Latino sandwich spread I found at Walmart. I never heard of that stuff before. I don't know who makes it. I saw it and I said, what in the world? There it was. Is it a Walmart private label? No, that's Great Value. We know Walmart has private labels. Great Value, Mainstay for their, like, you know, like home furnishings, curtains and shower curtains, stuff like that. Yeah. It's like mayonnaise, Hellman's. We all know Hellman's, Kraft, but then you might be up in New Jersey and say, what in the world is Blue Plate? Right? Blue Plate mayonnaise, but it's not a private label. It's made by Riley Foods of New Orleans. Riley. It's common in Louisiana, but their factory is in New Orleans. But if you live in New Jersey, it might be some most bizarre, unheard of thing ever. Okay, Calvert Extra is rare here. I only found it once at that store, one bottle. Do I see Calvert Extra commonly? No, I barely see Calvert, Lord Calvert, the Canadian version, same company. So Calvert and Lord Calvert are either rare in Louisiana or virtually unseen, and it's mostly it. Oh, well, that would be the same thing, right? They're either non-existent or extremely rare. That's right, I got it right. I found Lord Calvert once on the west bank of the Mississippi River on United States Highway 90 business route at a store called Labora's budget saver. But that store, that location's out of business unless somebody reopened something there. But that store was shut down last time I went. It was a nice little store, kind of maybe a questionable neighborhood area, bad, you know. But I saw it on the shelf, Calvert Extra, $10.99. I said, well, may as well buy it. Probably never see it again. And turns out I never did see it again. Okay. Pretty good Canadian whiskey too, but it's gone now. From Louisiana, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's gone from my house too. I don't have any more. Oh boy. This has that smell, that strange smell. I think I know what it is, but let me wait. Oh no, this is even stranger. Now let's be frank. These are two very odd products. They're hard to find, not that anybody's looking for them. And secondly, they smell and taste odd. Not bad. They don't taste bad, and they don't taste off-putting or gross or anything. They're just strange. Like the flavor is not what you would normally think of with whiskey. They have an overall whiskey flavor. Overall, yeah. But the under flavors, the particular flavors are definitely not the norm. Now, I know what your counter argument's going to be, and it's not even a counter argument because I'm agreeing with you. You say, yeah, but they're using bourbon that didn't mature correctly or didn't distill out right, didn't age. Well, I would be mature. It didn't blend right. No, it wouldn't be blended if it's straight bourbon. You know what I'm saying? It didn't come out right. So they blended it with grain spirits and sold it. Yeah, but it wouldn't be the case with Calvert because it's 100% whiskey. Could still be a bunch of whiskeys that didn't make the cut, and they said just dump it in there. Those old bums will buy it. And somebody told me when you use that word "old bums," you're referring to some other people. You're using it as a code word. I said no. I said no. Literally, when I say that, I mean bums. You know, like people that wander around the street, buy cheap liquor, and do nothing all day and have terrible drinking problem and beg you for money and more like harass you for money. Yeah, vagrants. You know, I'm talking about that. I guess that could be the type of people buying this stuff, but I doubt. I've never seen them in Total Wine. Total Wine is located in a kind of a better area of Metairie, kind of better, well-heeled area. If you look at all the people that shop in there, they're like the better set of Metairie. Yeah. Oh, sure. I could take you to some, as they say in England, dodgy locations in that town. More like toward Airline Highway, the old Highway 61. Huh. No, Maine. Yeah, they got some little convenience stores there. Some hotels, which I seriously doubt any tourists go to. But anyway, sometimes they get raided, but for various reasons. But anyway, cheers. Mm. I'm tasting that cherry wood. I don't think they're using cherry wood. But doggone if it doesn't taste like cherries. It's the strangest thing. Oh, you get sweet corn in it now. You say it's cherry corn. It's corn flavored with cherries. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked. I would be shocked. Yes, they are allowed to use natural flavoring in blended whiskey. No, they are not required to disclose it. Thirdly, I do not think they would use cherry flavoring, but it is possible. Although the likelihood is virtually Non-existent. All right, the taste. That's Bay Street. It does have a rye spice. Okay, I'm gonna open my eyes. I think Bay Street is maybe using a high rye, super cheap bourbon in it. It is Bay Street. And that same thing, I noticed the same thing with the King Square, which is showing like a scene in London on the label, King Square. I'm like, I don't know what the connection is between London and Florida, in Auburndale, Florida. I don't know what that would be. I guess you say, well, England owned Florida from 1863 to 1883. Yeah, that's true. Um, that's a flimsy connection, but yeah, okay, if you want to use that. Was a British colony for 20 years. Maxwell says, good morning, Ron. Good morning to you, Maxwell, in the Russian Federation. All right, got international viewers, folks. So to sum this up, if you want something that tastes ordinary, don't buy these two. If you want something that tastes standard, like regular whiskey, don't buy these two, either one of these. If you want something peculiar, odd, strange, unusual, and different, buy one of these. But really, you're not going to be able to find Calvert Extra because it's not like most stores have 28-year-old bottles lying around covered with dust and grime. But I did find it. Almost didn't buy it. It looked so bad, I said, I ain't buying this. It's terrible. But then I just grit my teeth and I said, I'll do it. I said, depending on the price. If it's cheap, I'll buy it. If it's any kind of price on it, I'll just let them keep it. Let them keep it for 28 more years and get more grime and dust on it. And usually that store is clean. You see what I'm saying? The whole store is clean. All the bottles look like they dust the bottles every day. So I'm like, where did this come from? And it had to be in their accounts because when they scanned it, it rang up. So it was obviously in the system. Oh, I couldn't figure it out. Now, but when it came up $8.99, I said, I'll take it. Because with relics like these, you can't really pass them up. That's the calling card. The cherry. I know I'm wrong. I know it's not really cherry. And I think if someone else tried it, they would say, oh, come on. What's wrong with you? That's not cherry. That's... Don't you know that flavor? I would say, no, I'm not from Pakistan. I never ate Pakistani food. I don't know that flavor. But you know what I mean? It'd be something obscure like that. Would this product win taste challenges against some of the more premier whiskeys I have, like Crown Royal's Northern Harvest Rye? Obviously not. It would get killed. That's a blended whiskey because it's 95% rye and 5% something else. Some other kind of whiskey, most probably corn, but I don't know that. There's all kinds of blended whiskeys on the market. Even some that aren't called blended whiskey. Like I told you, the Davies County is blended between two bourbons. 50-50 blend, 50% high rye bourbon and 50% wheated bourbon. But it's not called blended bourbon. It's called straight bourbon whiskey. That's to let you know it's got no coloring or flavoring at it, and it's aged at least 2 years. But of course, we know it's at least 4 years. Got no age statement on it. If it doesn't say single barrel, like if you buy a bourbon and it doesn't say single barrel, well, then you know it's blended from different barrels. No big deal. It's not like, oh, I'm so. And the thing about single malt whiskey, you could get tricked on that. You think, oh yeah, I drink single malt because it's from a single barrel. It's all barley malt. Where did you get that idea? Isn't that from a single barrel? Single distillery, okay. But you said single barrel. It's all barley malt, true. No corn, whiskey, or as they say in Europe, no maize whiskey, or really what they really say is grain whiskey. But when they say grain whiskey, they invariably mean maize. But you can make whiskey out of rice. You can use rice as a grain. Wouldn't much matter, because what are you trying to achieve anyway with grain whiskey? Odorless, colorless, clear. You're using that as a base. The flavor's coming from the single malts. Of course, in Scotland, they got a different law. Their grain whiskey has to be aged in oak barrels for a minimum of 3 years. Whereas in the United States, the grain can be aged for 10 milliseconds. It doesn't have to be aged at all. Now, you want to store it, fine. You say, well, we're not using it till next week. Okay. Don't matter. Just make sure you store it in oak vessels. That's what the law says. It has to be stored in oak vessels. Now, you might say, well, if it's being stored in oak, isn't it being aged in oak? Yeah, theoretically. Theoretically, yeah, but we talking about, like I'm saying, it may not be stored in there, but for like a week or a month or 2 weeks or a day, or not stored at all. So that's what I'm saying. It's not considered aged, just because they're not keeping records of that, and they're not worrying about that, and they're not producing it for that purpose. Okay. And I think the vodka, if you read about it, the vodka is not allowed to be stored in wood. It has to be like a wooden metal container, like stainless steel or something, because it's not allowed to have contact with wood, because then it would turn into whiskey. Read about it. Read the website. Just read the regulations. It's got to be a different thing. It cannot be. It's not a whiskey. Vodka has to be isolated and distilled, and then sometimes be 5 times distilled. They distill it, then they distill the distillate, and they distill the distillate, and they distill the distillate, and they distill the distillate. Obviously, you get less every time. Then they'll filter it 10 times, maybe. I mean, some of the cheap vodkas be distilled 3 times and filtered twice, cheap. But look at platinum, it's 10 times distilled. They got that platinum 10X, but they got the 7X and the 10X. If you get the 10X from Sazerac, distilled 10 times. I don't know how many times it's filtered, multiple times through charcoal, just like, because they want it as pure and tasteless and odorless as humanly possible. And people drink that. I don't know why, but there's some kind of clean character they want. But once you put it in wood, that's gone. The clean character is over. The wood's going to affect it. It's affecting this. Now, do I think they're probably adding flavoring to this? No, not to this Florida Distillers Bay Street Spirits. It's 2 corn, and it's 2 rye spice, and it's 2 well, that's what it is, like sweet corn and rye spice. I don't know how else to describe it. Maybe they're adding a little sugar to it. I don't know, but sugar is a flavoring. Right? Put it in cake, makes it sweet flavor. Okay, but it would not be considered what they call natural flavors. That's something else. That's something from nature that tastes like, well, whatever you want it to taste like. If it's cherry skins, I guess it's going to taste like cherries. If it's orange peels, I guess it's going to taste like orange. But they use stuff from like roots and bark and leaves and oleo resins. They use all kind of beaver glands, apparently. You say, but it's from nature. That's right. It is. It's all kind of concoctions out there in that natural world. They had these little black ants, and when I killed them, my fingers smelled like cinnamon. It was obviously some kind of musk that the tiny little microscopic ants emitted. It was a strong smell. Smell like cinnamon. Cheers, Louisiana Liquor Reviews. Coach Kelly sure is a class act. Oh, yeah. And like most head coaches, you can trust everything they say, like a politician. I always think of a head coach as like a politician in sports. You ever listen to a head coach make a speech and then listen to a politician make a speech? It's almost the same kind of talk, same kind of delivery, same kind of veracity. But that's why I don't listen to the coaches' show. I do not listen to coaches' shows. I used to a long time ago. And then I started thinking, why am I wasting my time with this hogwash? Calvert Extra. This is a product that will grow, I think. This is my theory. The more you drink it, the more you like it. It grows on you. It's one of those products that every time you try it, it's better than the previous time. Even though the flavors are a bit strange, there's something about it. Is it the fact that it's 100% whiskey and no grain spirits added? Probably has a lot to do with it. Why don't they make it anymore? Because it was too expensive to make it. They wanted to cheapen it, right? Yeah, you guess right. Is the current Calvert Extra any good? It's all right. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's pretty good. I tried it at John and Nilay's and we weren't displeased. But this one's way better. It's way better. It's way better. Now, is that natural coloring? I wish it was, but when it's blended whiskey, you got to kind of doubt that. Looks nice though. If they use caramel coloring, they did a good job with it. Doesn't that look nice? That's about the darkest thing I ever saw. This one's so light because my impression with this Bay Streets is that if they are adding coloring, it's a minimal amount. And I don't think they're using flavoring whatsoever, but I could be wrong. Calvert Extra, yeah, I'm pretty sure they used flavoring. And if you can identify that flavor, you let me know because I can't figure it out. But then you'd have to try it. And I know, well, the Whiskey Scout, he used to do videos a lot, and he would drive all over to obscure stores in Kansas. He'd find liquors on the shelf, 30, 40 years old, just sitting out there, sitting on the shelf. So look at this old thing here. So you could find old things now. All right. Hey, I know where to find old early times, old 1990s early times, way before it got sold, when it was pure whiskey without the natural flavor. Well, it might have always had natural flavorings. Okay, well, we won't say too much. But when it was different, okay, I could find that. I can find it. Don't say I want to buy it, but I can find it. All right, we all take care now, and I'll see you soon for Wednesday, another taste challenge, and then Wednesday evening, get ready for what? You know what? Joker's Wild Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month. Any beer, wine, or liquor. And I'm not sure what I'm going to bring, but I'll think of something. All right, bye-bye, everybody.